Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. No Rhett today because she just didn't want to come out of her cage. She took her nut. She was happy to take her nut, but she didn't want to come out of the cage, so I left her in there. It is December 31st, the very last day of 2025. I think it's the first time in a long time that I could say at the end of the year of it's better than it was at the beginning of the year. So things are finally turning around, which is so nice. And now we're building, and let's see, our application is running, and I am dealing with a bug. And it's kind of funny because I did not think it was a bug when I created it, and um, I thought I knew what was wrong, and I was completely wrong. So the name of this branch is debounce the redraw in update view after browser resize. Never do that. That's a mistake. Don't ever. It's a bad idea to put the solution to start solutioning in the bug. It's better in the bug or in the issue just say what the issue is. And the issue was that um, the AR aspect ratio isn't correct at the end of it. And historically, that's always been something that had to do with throttling. And I knew that there was a UI, like a resize event happening. So I don't quite understand. We've been sort of dealing with this, and that was like another thing is I thought this was like a very like maybe very promising something that you would assign like a very promising junior level person there, but you're not sure exactly how this would have completely sabotaged them. Like because I did I basically misinterpreted what was going on, and I selected a solution that probably is not the right solution. Maybe it is, but probably not. So add. All right. Now, if I remember correctly, begin the effect. Okay, so that we are inside of our um, component at this point. Okay, so that's a good idea. I should do the same thing. Let's see. Let's begin effect. There we go. Sometimes leaving your search open with a thing in there can really be a problem. Okay, so I want to have an end effect. And this will tell me like what's happening um, inside the component. I'm thinking, like this is new. Effects are very, very new to me, so debugging them, I'm kind of just making this up as I go. And I guess it is probably hard, like now that I'm thinking out loud about it, it's very difficult to know in our language, the way we've set up our language of American English. Okay, so begin effect, end effect. So all we've had are these effects run. Um, and we probably do not want those all that logic running unless we happen to be in update layout mode. You'll probably save some cycles by doing that. But anyways, let's go ahead and add a viz. Okay, so here's where we began. And the aspect ratio was set here, and then this ran, and that was it. So it kind of seems like this is right, except in one one set of circumstances. So now we're going to go to this view, clear. Should have probably waited till after this view and cleared. And then do a quick resize. So we have the aspect ratio should be 1.08, but the calculated aspect ratio is 1.6. So kind of weird. Okay, so this is begin effect, end effect. So that's the last stuff that runs. And I think all this does is get the calculated AR. Okay, setting, resizing the visually expected props. And I think this is where we actually, before, after, begin effect, end effect. So it looks like this code runs, and it was running for this guy right here. But see this right now, so this is correct. Yesterday it wasn't working this way, but see this is correct. 569 is the width, but it calculated for 556. And see, that's the thing is that this is showing the current actual true value, um, not the value right before it printed, because I'm pretty sure that this gets its value from here. So I'm trying to understand. See, this must be getting called when the. See, I was thinking this must be getting called when it gets created, but that can't be right. Okay, we are in the effect of the update layout. And I'm guessing that I have effects. And see, this is like another thing I've never really experienced is um, what happens with when you have effects that are like um, across multiple components and they're all building, how do all these effects sort of when do they get fired? Just some sense of that stuff. You can't really count on that kind of thing, but um, I do think that that's my problem is that I'm having right now is that um, these constructors are firing in a way that isn't. I don't know. I don't have any expectation that is unknown to me. I guess is the way. Um, because I think there's another effect inside the component itself. The viz component has effects, I think. Okay, yeah. So before, okay, we're just gonna go and begin component effect. And this is like kind of how you get the experience. Like everyone's like, "Oh, experience really matters." Like it's playing around with just it, figuring out exactly how everything works. I'm looking for the. I guess it's here. Yeah. And I just cannot believe how far off I was on how this thing is supposed to work. And, when I wrote the issue, it's just like I thought I was rock solid. I'm so glad that like some other person didn't ever try to pick that up, 'cause that would have been very confusing. Okay, so I guess. Okay, so begin layout effect. See, we don't have a component effect because there isn't one. So now if we add, let's clear this. So the component fired off right here, right? And ended. And then the outer one's effect, the layout effect happened. So the component effect happened all the way through, and then the layout effect. I'm not sure exactly when this happened. I suspect this is the redraw. And so now I'm going to clear this, go to this view. Boom. And then these hashes are a lot easier to see than these pluses. So I'm guessing this in here is calling something up here to do this, and it kind of seems like we're kind of counting on the race condition of the component being done by the time this thing gets started. But when you do a resize, I guess the component isn't done. Let's see, and let's clear this, hit this, and then clear it again, because we know it's all right at the beginning. Yeah, and now it's wrong. I think this is the one that we want to see happen at the very end. However, this set of so st render line 110. This is what we're looking at, and this is where all the ratios get calculated, and then for some reason this guy does not get called. I think that's where we were over here a second ago. Hit the back button. Here we go. So this is where everything happens. And right now, I guess it would be helpful just to know, okay, how does it get called now? And then looks like it gets called from in here. Okay, so whenever that render by ID gets called, that's when this all gets set. Okay, when is render by ID getting called? Okay, so it gets called in the st-render service. No, that is it. And then this, oh, in the viz service. So in the visualization service itself, it has a render function, and that if it hasn't been rendered, then this render service gets called. So this may be render set size. Okay, render. Okay, so we got to figure out when this render gets called. This render. Okay, so this is. Okay, I think this gets called like every fraction of a second or every 60 times a second. So let's just double check that. So now my guess is that this guy is not call. I don't know. Let's see, render cha-cha-cha. So the render did get called. Let's see, let's go to this view. It's clear. Add one of these. Let's see. Okay, so that did get called. Where are you? Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, see, this gets called because it gets called, well, we're in the viz service. Okay, we don't have anything, so I guess it doesn't get called as often as I thought it did. And there's our render cha-cha-cha. I think that's going to always be right at the beginning. Let me go back to this view real quick. Okay, so update layout. This is the outer layout effect. This is our component. Yeah, so in this case, the outer layout effect fired before. But oh, update is doesn't even have anything in it though, so because the update isn't being displayed at this point. And then let's go look at this view, clear it. Okay, so yeah, so in this case, since this hasn't changed, um, we just happen to be that the width and the height are correct. But once we start changing it, um, this gets called before all of this is done. And so this is probably not resized yet when this guy got called. So let me clear this. 828. So yeah, so I think that yeah, this we really want this to get called. Render cha cha cha. ST render IT. So almost feel okay. What is this? This is component visualization service. So oh man, so this is interesting because I was like, oh, this is something that only this component would ever want to call. But now it kind of seems like the update would also like to call this. Hmm, I don't know what to do. So the idea is that we have a component, and outside of it, and this component, if I remember correctly. Oh, okay, maybe. Okay. Oh, this is our, yeah, no, this is our viz service component, which is sort of a component that was just supposed to be for a service that was just for a given component. So it wasn't supposed to be like your for in root, even though it is. Um, but now, curious how I did that in here. So where's my viz service? Visualization service. Okay, so this isn't like private, so I could actually get to this from, I think, from the outer. Okay, so one thing is that this visualization services is where the sort of logic that will update, that will render a given render so that it gets the right, and that's what tells it to get the right stuff, right um, AR aspect ratio. So this is kind of what ends up doing it, which for the most part is fine because the they don't get resized like the actual they do get resized, but the actual visualization itself doesn't ever change size. Just it just changes its location. So none of this matters. But in update, it does matter, and it really there's going to be multiple views of update one where it's not going to matter. So got to keep that in mind. man. All right. So basically, inside of the effect of the up app update layout, inside of here, right here, we need to actually communicate to the transpiler or to the component. The component doesn't know that it's been changed that last time. I don't know how it knows the other times though. That's I guess the weird part is that somehow it knows. Yeah, so even okay. Yeah, gosh, I hate to make that like a something that gets handled, but it has to get handled outside the component. The component doesn't really have any way of knowing that it's changed size. And see, like just adding like a debounce, like I said in the thing, the problem with that is that if we're creating our own race condition. We're saying that, hey, after some given amount of time, everything should be settled down and go ahead and rerun. And as we start adding more and more things, that may or may not be true. And when it starts to fail, it'll be very inconsistent. So I want to avoid that because I don't want to spend 3 months literally trying to find one little bug. All right, so process visualization. So we want to update at this point. Right, because this doesn't get called like, well, it does get called like crazy though when you resize. So I don't, I guess if we call, okay, so we have I think we have a reference to the component itself. If I remember seeing, I think I remember seeing that. Yeah, app update layout component. Oh, so this is not I thought this was the app layout component. I thought this was the little visualization. We do not have that visualization. And we know our renderer ID. So it kind of seems like, let's go ahead and close this one. It kind of seems like inside of here, it seems like this logic here, this renderer object kind of seems like it needs to be in another thing, or I need to expose it to its parent because its parent is the last one that knows. But we don't want to, I don't think we want to call this over and over again as part of that effect. So here I actually get the render service. Hmm. All right, so let's do this. I think what I need to do, let's go into the viz component. Well, okay, I think what I can do is in here. And let's go to the HTML and just double check. Okay, so okay, here's our app viz right here. And then its outer thing is the viewer. So we need to give this thing a name, just like we did this one, so that we can attach it. So that we can try to call the function in there to tell it to do the resize, but I think we can debounce that so then it'll only happen once the effects have not happened for a little bit. So I do think we end up doing a debounce, but is okay. So now this is called a Angular template variable. We have an Angular template variable, and now if we want access to it, we have to go into our TypeScript and see how we did this at viewChild. We need to do the same thing. So it's kind of weird because the word viewChild is viewer, like if you are like if you're versed in the version of English that I'm versed in, that sounds like a verb, view child, right? Like I want to view the child, but it's actually a noun. This is a thing that allows you to view the child. So component visualization, and then I think it is a. I'm like, oh, I don't remember this. Okay, I think it's one of these. All right. So now we're getting a reference to this, and now things are could get really weird here, right? Because the thing is like, when does this visualization exist? And so that's why I said it could be undefined. Um, Now I think as soon as it gets defined, it will like magically populate itself. But the visualization doesn't exist. It only exists when we're in this view. I mean, so there's plenty of times that this visualization doesn't even exist. And I don't know if any of it, maybe this is what we want to key off of in the fact is whether that exists or not. Um, all right, so let's hit save and see what happens. I don't think anything weird should happen. And I want to see if there's, yeah, I didn't see anything strange. Okay, update. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to just kind of go through things and just make sure that just trying to get a reference to this thing doesn't break anything because I don't really understand what that code does. So I can't think of any logical reason why this would do that, but since I don't really understand it, I am sort of my mental model of it is definitely going to be wrong. So at this point, see how the render cha-cha-cha is right there, but I bet they're side by side with the beginning of the. No, that's a recyclable sequence. Oh, component undefined. So you'll see. So that's important. And it doesn't exist yet, so that makes sense. There is no component. Oh, component's still undefined at this point. Calculate our ARs. so this is kind of a funny because um, the component effect all ran and everything, right? That's the component begin end component effect. Then begin without saying that the component itself is undefined, even though it ran up here. Oh, the weirdness, the weirdness. Let's see. See, this component is undefined. Yeah, so the component, see, I bet you the one thing that's going to be different is the component will be defined when you resize. See, the component's defined now, but everything was fine, but I think that timing gets thrown off. So here's where all the action happens, right? Like up here on these exclamation marks, that's the big moment. But the problem is this is when we know what the value is down here, but it's already happened. So the AR should be 0.99, but instead it's 1.02. And now I think so we do have access to the component itself. So, and one of the things that the component has is it has its visualization service. And now in the visualization service, I don't have, oh, this is it, the components visualization service. Is that the one? No, I don't think so. It's Viz service. Let's see what is it? The name of it. Component visualization service. Oh, okay, so that is it. Component visualization service. And then it says it has a render. So it looks like this actually is what we want to call, right? The render in native, you give it that the width and the height. How does this get called? I'm guessing I have a function inside of the component. Okay, so ng after viewing it, this gets called. It looks like it gets called another time too. Update dimensions signal handler. Okay, so it looks like those are the only two places. So it looks like I need to maybe, I don't know, I'm really um, going out on a branch here, but it kind of seems like I need to expose this, create a function that does this. Parent. And true. Dimensions. To be allows the dimensions to be updated at the request of the parent. So basically what I want to make sure is that um, it's actually using the right stuff. So this would get called from the parent. I believe I can make that a, like I can make that a specifically a I don't know. But basically, I want to be able to call this from the parent when everything is done, and then once everything is done, console.log, let's go. Let's do this instead. So now this should be available whenever in the update. Where are you? Update component. So in its effect, I think this is a good idea. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's a good idea to if this component exists to call it directly. Visualization misspelled. Ugh. All right, so let's go here. Let's go here. Let's add a viz. Let's go here. Let's update it, and then here, clear all of this. I think we want to see. Oh, and then I never did call it. So basically, we only want to do this if the component visualization exists. So I think this is the edge case is the situation where the component visualization exists before the outer update effect is fired. And that is really truly a new thing for me, this component dot. Didn't I just create a function over there? Let's go over here. Update dimensions parent. Maybe that was my update parent. And so basically, I don't want to pass it in stuff. I just want it should know all of its stuff, I think, at this point. Or we may, and they probably we're going to need to actually debounce this. Because when you resize, I notice that signal fires a lot. So, or not debounce. Yeah, debounce it. It's this not because yeah, there could be some timing issue, or it could get called more times than it needs to be called. Um, and, okay, so forgot what we're even trying to test now. Okay, cold. Okay, so it did in fact get called. That was now I remember that thing. Okay, so now let's see what happens. So called. Yeah, so this is exactly where we want it to get called. So now over here, it should have. I don't even know if this is a good practice because I think I could have exposed it through the template and called it that way. So over here, we need to collect up all of this information, the native element, the current width, all that other stuff, and then render it. Okay, render native element. Right. You know, got like 8 minutes to work, but I do have something very important that I'm working on today, so I need to uh, get on just a couple minutes early. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.